All right, we're continuing now in Chapter 12 of Price Analysis, and this next section of video is going to really kind of parallel Chapter 1 material for South America. So we're going to be talking about what the production seasons look like in South America, when they're planting, when they're harvesting. We'll talk about double cropping in Brazil, and how that production season influences the world market, particularly how it complements our own production season here in North America. So let's go ahead and get started. So the most obvious and important part of South American production is that when they are having summer, we're having winter, and vice versa. When they're having spring, we're having fall, and vice versa. So when we are planting, they're harvesting. When we are harvesting, they're planting. And it makes these two production systems in North America and South America really, in terms of the world market, really complementary. Because we noted in Chapter 9 and 10, remember that U.S. corn and soybean exports are always at their highest levels during the second quarter of the marketing year, which is right after harvest, around December and January and stuff. So that's when the world demanders of our goods can come and take advantage of our seasonally low harvest prices. So they do that, and we see exports at their highest levels at that time. During that time, planting and growing seasons are going on in South America, so they don't have any excess supply except of the old crop that they are continuing to try to market to the world. So then, when they harvest in the springtime, we're focused on planting and what the growing season is going to look like for us going into our crop that we'll harvest the next year. And our export season slows down because we're getting into a different part of the marketing year where we should be up higher on that forward curve. And in South America, they are experiencing their own seasonally low, harvest time depressed prices. So the world is naturally going to look to South America for seasonally low prices during that time. And it really helps to smooth out the price path for a foreign country who wants to do a lot of importing. Alright, so let's talk about Brazil in a little more detail for a few minutes. I'm going to switch over to a map to discuss the next stuff. So the wonderful thing about Brazil that we do not enjoy in the United States is that Brazil is quite a bit closer to the equator, and the productive regions of Brazil is quite closer to the equator than we are in the Corn Belt of the United States. It would be more akin to Mexico and extreme southern United States would be a similar latitude as Brazil is to the south. What this means is that their warm season lasts much longer, and they can actually double crop quite extensively. And the way the double cropping system usually works is soybeans go first, and then you can get a double crop of corn. It turns out that if you try to get a double crop and go corn first, it doesn't work out based on the timing of when the rains come and the growing season of the corn crop. But it has been feasible for soybeans to go first because new varieties that allow earlier and earlier planting have really allowed them to extend the growing season by planting early soybeans, harvesting them in time to get in, if they're lucky, a second crop of corn that can be grown and harvested before their winter comes. So again, this map comes from the USDA, and they highlight the major producing regions of Brazil. Notice we've got Mato Grosso and Mato Grosso do Sul, Paraná, and some other regions here in this south and central area of Brazil that are the highest producers of soybeans. And you note here the highest producing states here. And this is really handy because it's oftentimes hard for me to remember when exactly these planting and harvesting seasons in South America are coming. And this we can just refer to quickly and see that planting of soybeans will begin in October, so at the time of this recording, that's right about now. I'm recording this on October 17th, 2017. And planting will continue through the end of the year. And then you get into January, and that's the major growing season for Brazilian soybeans. So I'm sure that watching the weather during January and February will really set the tone for how their crop production will come out. And then they're harvesting soybeans from March through May. So this map shows the production regions for second crop corn in Brazil. And you can see that the most important regions there are similar to the most productive regions of soybeans, because if you're able to plant soybeans very early, then you're going to be lucky and be able to get in a second crop of corn. And that appears to be most prominent in the states of Mato Grosso, Goiás, and Mato Grosso do Sul. And also we have a calendar here of the production season. And recall that in the soybeans calendar, let me see if I can get them here at the same time. In the soybeans calendar, it's indicated that harvesting starts in March. And here we have that corn second crop planting will be starting in February. So part of the anxiety every cropping season in Brazil is being able to get the soybean crop in earlier and earlier so that they can get it harvested more in this February to March region than this late. Because if you're going to plant a second crop of corn, you need to hurry a little bit and try to get it planted earlier in February rather than waiting until it's late. If you have to wait until April or May, then you're not going to have enough growing season to really let the corn crop mature and get harvested before winter comes. So those are the main things to keep in mind as we look to reports coming out of Brazil for both the crop progress, harvest progress, planting progress, and weather reports. It's often about this tension of, are we going to be able to get the soybeans in order to get them out in time to plant the second crop corn? And if you think about it from the perspective of a farmer, if things don't go well with weather and you're not able to get in and plant the second crop of corn, well, you've lost nearly half of your revenue for that season because you were going to enjoy a second crop harvest if weather had gone better. But if you're prevented from planting that second crop, then that's a pretty big hit to your profitability. Now, in some regions, it's not as easy to get that first crop of soybeans in quickly as we would like, or that would make it possible for double cropping with soybeans and corn. And if you can't double crop with soybeans and corn, then oftentimes you will choose to just do corn as a first crop because you are likely to earn more profit from. If you're faced with the choice of growing just corn or growing just soybeans, then you might choose corn because corn has a high yield and maybe has more profitability in Brazil. And we see then that if you're planting corn as a first crop, the planting season is going to run here in what we consider the fall or the spring in South America. And we'll be harvesting in that same time period, February, March, and April.